Hello everyone, thank you for checking out another video. In this one, we've got another round of recent changes that have just been put onto Wowhead, coming on next reset. I believe this would have already gone live for NA players, but will be coming tomorrow if you're on EU. That will be Wednesday, the 1st of March. Now, I have been a little bit worried about this because there haven't been too many changes recently. They have been releasing a lot of planned changes for the 10.0.7 patch, which I believe will be dropping in about 2 months or so. But I was getting worried just because we hadn't received any updates to the current game and the game state. And so now that we've received that, I'm feeling a little bit less anxious. So let's get right into this one. So first up, we've got some blood decay changes. All damage abilities increased by 3%. I think this would be quite not really noticeable in PvP. Paladin Holy Light of Dawn healing increased by 10%, so a bit of a healing buff to that. I'm not sure how noticeable that will be in PvP. Uh, a prop pally buff here. Greater Judgment's bonus to your next Holy Power ability against the afflicted target increased to 40% was 20, so a bit of a damage bonus there. Also a damage bonus to Hammer of Wrath by 30%, and Hammer of Righteousness damage increased by 20%. Shaman Elemental Lightning Bolt damage increased by 10% for Elemental only, does not apply to PvP. Lava Burst damage increased by 6% for Elemental only, does not apply to PvP. Earthshock damage increased by 6%, does not apply to PvP. And Elemental damage increased by 6% for Elemental only, and also does not apply to PvP. Ice Fury damage increased by 80%. Ice Fury causes Frost Shock to generate 14 Maelstrom up from 8. Frost Shock damage increased by 15% for Elemental only. Now, these are very interesting just because Elemental Shaman has been overperforming these past few weeks. I think we can all agree on that. They've been hitting very high numbers, very good consistent damage, sorry. Um, if you check the detailed breakdown after every game, they're pretty much always at the top. And I was hoping to see some sort of tuning to take that down a little bit to make it a bit more manageable, and not really have those elemental one-shot windows where they just lava, 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 lava your face and you just melt. So I'm glad to see that some of these buffs were not applied to PvP, but at the same time, I would have loved to see some tuning on the damage side for elemental. But we move. So moving on to the player versus player changes, the gladiator's distinction stamina provided by the bonus increased by 40%. So that's your trinket bonus from your having two PvP trinkets. The stamina bonus from that set is now going to be increased by 40%. The note says our goal for PvP pacing is for it to be fast while leaving time for players to react. We've continued to see that overall PvP pacing has been faster than we would like, especially as players have been gaining increased offensive pressure through their tier set acquisition. So we're adjusting the stamina bonus from Gladiator's Distinction to help address this. So health pools are gonna be a bit bigger now as well. So I do like the way that the path that they're choosing here, just because the game does feel like it's very bursty at the moment, and them kind of increasing stamina will definitely help that quite a bit. Moving on to Hunter, improved kill shot now increases kill shot crit damage by 15% in PvP combat was 25, so a bit of a nerf to that burst end damage of kill shot, which honestly I think is okay. I've been seeing crits of 100k plus on kill shot, so I think that's pretty fair. Marksman, you're getting a bit of a nerf, I think. Razor Fragments increases kill shot damage by 40%, down from 50. Arcane shot damage increased by 45% in PvP combat was 30, so a bit of a buff to Arcane shot to help compensate for that Razor Fragment nerf and as well as the kill shot nerf as well. Chimera shot damage increased by 45% in PvP combat was 30. So a bit of a buff to Chimera Shot as well. Um, I'll be very interested to see if people start picking this up as a staple in their build. I doubt it. I think currently it's doing like 12k damage, which is very negligible. So we'll have to see if that gets picked up. Um, Moving on to Monk Brewmaster, Incendiary Breath PvP talent now increases the radius and damage of fire breath. Breath of Fire, sorry, by 30% was 100%. And the note saying Incendiary Breath's radius increase has been difficult to read as a player, and Brewmaster damage has been higher than we would like. I like it. A bit of tuning to that tank specialization. Hopefully that will help them be a bit more manageable. Moving on to Windwalker, Touch of Karma now redirects 105% of absorbed damage in PvP combat. I love this because Touch of Karma, two things. One, it doesn't feel like it's an actual cooldown. You can just go through it without too much trouble. It kind of it breaks quite easily, and then also the second thing is that it doesn't really have any penalty to breaking it because, as you can see, it was only 70% of the damage was redirected, so it didn't really feel like it did too much. But now, 105% of that damage is getting redirected back at you once you break that karma, or during the process of breaking karma. So it might be a cooldown that you have to kind of respect, and either you don't go through it depending on how much damage it does, because health is also going up, so karma's going to obviously hit a bit harder as well, or you have to get your healer to dispel that once you break it or as you go along. So I like this change for monks. Hopefully it does make them a little bit hopefully it does deter players from actually going through it, but I really doubt it. We'll have to see. Rogue Assassination. Hemotoxin heating reduction effect reduced to 30% was 5%. Honestly, I don't know if this is going to be enough to kind of take Asa off the top spot. Having two charges of Shiv with a 30% MS effect is pretty powerful still. Um, I mean, I know it started at 40% when the expansion started, but just imagine how OP it was then. It's still going to be insane. Um, Outlaw dispatch damage increased by 15% in PvP. The spec has been underperforming, so a bit of a damage buff to their main finisher might help. We'll have to see how that plays out. Shaman Enhancement. Converging Storms increases Storm Strike damage by 10% per stack in PvP combat was 25%. Okay. Lava Lash damage increased by 15% in PvP combat. Storm Strike damage increased by 50% in PvP combat was increased by 30%. Wind Strike damage increased by 50% in PvP combat was increased by 30%. So I think they're just buffing the consistent damage of the spec and kind of nerfing the burst side of it, which I kind of like. Um, Honestly, and to be honest, I'll be very real. Whenever I face an enhancement shaman, they are doing some great consistent damage. I don't think consistent damage is a problem for the spec, to be completely honest. Um, but I guess we'll have to wait and see how these buffs play out. And then lastly, we've got Fury Warrior. Rampage damage increased by 15% in PvP combat, and execute damage increased by 10% in PvP combat. Armors and protection damage have been unchanged. On the note, Fury Warrior's offensive pressure has been notably lower than we like, so we're increasing rampage and execute damage. Um, hmm. I'm not too sure. I obviously Free Warrior will love this, but I'm not too sure if this will push it ahead of Arms. I don't think it will. I think Arms is in a really good spot right now where it's just tanky enough. It has some decent defensive cooldowns with Banner and Die by the Sword, Rally as well, Intervene and all that. And I think until the Slaughterhouse mechanic gets altered or changed in some way, I think it might stay that way where arms just stay superior. And honestly, I don't really mind that. I really liked the era of I really did not enjoy the era of Fury Warriors being the meta, and just Zug Zug, press W key. It just feels like, I mean, Arms does the same, but I feel like Arms, I rather lose to an Arms Warrior than a Fury Warrior because it feels like you're losing to an actual player, not a bot, just pressing the W key in 1, 2, 3, basically. But yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Uh, a decent amount of changes, targeting some problematic stuff. I would have liked to see some proper damage tuning to Asa and some tuning to Ellie Shaman as well. Um, and obviously, I do like the Gladius Distinction stamina bonus as well, to be completely honest. But I'm very excited for these changes. Let me know how you guys feel about them. If I missed anything, if you don't agree with something I said, down in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.